Spectrum, what is the role of the East African community in nurturing and strengthening democracy in partner states? Specifically, what role is the community playing in ensuring peaceful, free and fair elections in Uganda? Now, Uganda is one of the three historical founders of the East African community, the others being Kenya and Tanzania, making it a key player in the region. As Ugandans prepare for the elections on Friday this week, events in the country are being watched closely with a lot of anxiety and expectations. The East African Community Secretariat and other institutions linked with governance are among key stakeholders helping Uganda in its struggle to achieve a peaceful, free and fair election process. Issues to governance are critical in the community as they are viewed as a foundation and a catalyst towards the anticipated political federation. After the Kenyan election in 2007, violence erupted and the community through its political desk decided to heighten its vigilance against election malpractices, human rights abuses and other undemocratic tendencies, which makes the election in Uganda a key agenda on its desk this year. So tonight we are privileged to host our own Honorable Beatrice Kiraso, the Deputy Secretary General in charge of Political Federation of the East African Community, to discuss with us the role of the East African community in nurturing and strengthening democracy and its likely role in ensuring a peaceful, free and fair election. You're most welcome, Honorable Beatrice Kiraso.
Thank you very much, Edmund.
To what extent can the East African community help in fostering democracy in partner states, broadly?
Well, broadly, probably we start with the whole principle of integration. Because when you are in integration, if I may use the analogy in the Bible of your brother's keeper, we are each brother's keepers. So when you are integrating, you need to have harmonized standards on how to deal with certain things. And I think democracy is one of the important things, or democratization processes for that matter, where we should have common standards to be adhered to as a community. So basically and generally that's the role of the EAC.
And how do you do this?
Well, first of all, by setting common standards, and in that one we are in the in doing that we are in the process. But before I go to that, probably I should say that the East African community is the only regional economic community whose ultimate goal, the final goal, is to have a political federation.
True, yes.
Political federation means that these countries will cede some of their sovereignty and powers and go into one government or form one state. How do you form a state? All these are political processes. And these political processes have got to be watched very keenly. So therefore, can we, as East African community, look down, hide our heads in the sand when there are political processes going on in our countries? The answer is no. So at the EAC level, we have taken very keen interest in the political developments of all our partner states, especially, and as you rightly said, Edmund, after 2007 elections in Kenya. That was a wake-up call for us. Now, since then, we started the development of a protocol. Now it's still in draft form, the Protocol on Good Governance. This Protocol on Good Governance, once finalized, it will give us an opportunity to have common, acceptable standards on how to deal with political governance issues. Standards to which each of the countries is expected to adhere to. And if I may very briefly say, there are four major pillars of this good governance draft protocol. The first pillar is democracy and democratization processes. And under that pillar, specifically under the democratization processes, falls electoral processes. So because it is in the purview of this integration, in political integration, in good governance, there is no way we can shy away from watching over what is happening in our countries in as far as democratization processes are concerned. But also for the benefit of the listeners, I could briefly mention the other pillars are human rights and equal opportunities, anti-corruption, ethics and integrity, and the fourth is the rule of law and access to justice.
Okay, when you talk about having these protocols on good governance as being in a draft form, and yet we have been told that there's a plan, the politicization plan to have sovereignty ceded to one unit is just about 4 years away. Are you not running behind schedule?
Well, I don't know whether it is 4 years away, because as far as I know, we don't have a time yet. We don't have a year or a date.
There was a time plan to have the common union, the monetary union next year in 2012, and the political union in 2015 at some stage. Was that abandoned?
No, there was no summit decision to that effect. Actually, the summit decision, if I may call it verbatim, it says to have a common market by 2008.
Which happened, yes.
To have a monetary union by 2012, so as to pave way for the political federation.
When can we expect the political federation? Look at that kind of timeline.
Yeah, it depends on the time frame that we will take to harmonize all these instruments, the things that I'm talking about. But also, going to a political federation means having one country. Yes. You cannot have a country without a constitution.
Yes.
If by now we have not yet embarked on the process of making the East African constitution, the constitution making process, we've not embarked on it, well, basically because there hasn't been any firm decision by the decision-making organs to go that way. I could envisage that may take probably the coming 2 or 3 years.
To prepare a constitution for the single state for East Africa?
Yes, not only the constitution, but to finish all the other documents, instruments that we are working on to harmonize our foreign policy, to harmonize our governance issues, to sensitize the citizens of East Africa so that there is a buy-in, because you're asking people now to go for another constitution other than the one that they have already voted for, but also to harmonize our defense, common defense, and how we deal with our peace and security issues. So these processes are ongoing. That's why I'm thinking that probably in the coming 2-3 years, they should be concluded.
So basically one is safe to say that we can look at a political federation in around about 2015?
2015, 2016.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the monetary union now. How far have we gone in preparing for that?
The monetary union meetings are already still going on. The preparatory meetings have started. I believe that in the coming 2 months, we'll start the full-fledged negotiations, because there's a lot of give and take. There are so many aspects which have got to be negotiated, because different countries are at different levels of economic development. Some of them have got different fiscal policies and monetary policies. We have, to a very large extent, achieved macroeconomic convergence, because our macroeconomic policies are now almost the same. Of course, as you know, the East African countries read their budgets at the same time, so there's a lot of discussion pre- and post-budget.
Right.
All these, I think, are some of the activities that will support the monetary union process, negotiation process, when it starts.
All right, I'd like us to talk a little bit more about the drawdown, the timeline towards the convergence of the East African, the formation of the East African single state. Let's come back to Uganda. Looking at the elections, do you think, from the East African community perspective, that everything is working like it should?
Well, I don't want to say things of where I have no facts, because much as the East African community does election monitoring, not monitoring, observation, which was launched just the other day, we do not monitor the political happenings in countries. However, I'm also a Ugandan. Being a Ugandan, I have followed these campaigns. To me, they have been to a large extent peaceful. I'm just hopeful that this peace will continue for the coming few days. So, Edmund, I can say that I'm hoping, and I'm very confident that things will go well.
All right, let's get back again. Well, listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight we're asking the question, what is the role of the East African community in nurturing and strengthening democracy in partner states? We're also focusing on the role the community is playing in ensuring peaceful, free, and fair elections in Uganda. Our guest tonight is Honorable Beatrice Kiraso, Deputy East African Community Secretary General in charge of Political Federation, also a former woman member of Parliament for Kabroli District. You'll be able to call in later. You can also send in your text messages, questions, via your text phone. Type the word Spectrum, leave a space, message, question or name and address, and send it to 7197. Honorable Kiraso, is there a goodwill for this political federation in the 3 states?
Is there goodwill?
Yes.
There's a lot of goodwill. Sometimes not at the same levels, but I can say that increasingly over the past few years, I've seen a lot of buy-in by all the 5 countries. So there is goodwill. I think really the onus is on us from the Secretariat, from my colleagues of the East African Legislative Assembly, and all the other institutions and organs of the community to do more work.